Good evening and welcome to Momentous Live, episode number Roman numeral 3. It's
Nice.
actually 111. I'm Tristan Jutra.
I'm Will Silver.
I'm Gray Williams, and wouldn't that be is it like XX or
What?
the
Who?
100
What?
Roman numerals?
X Roman numerals?
Yeah.
C
Yeah, so yeah,
CX CXI.
which sounds like
111's.
Yes.
Billy could be starring in that, possibly the Crusoe.
Okie dokie.
CXI? No.
So hey, let's do this. No Tasia, unfortunately, because priorities, but that's fine. She didn't want to bring her mom on the show. Me too. We'll get Mama Custodian someday. Let's get into a quick bit of, I guess, a follow-up of sorts. This week in Elon.
Oh.
Q Will's eye roll. Actually, this was a little bit of news that I was kind of excited by. I went on Twitter for some reason and saw there's an archived live stream going on. It's like, what is going on? And it was a super crunchy video stream of Elon at Twitter HQ and messing about with his phone, and they were digging around and playing with the remnants of Periscope, if you can believe it. And for those not in the know, Periscope was a live video streaming platform that Twitter had acquired back in around 2015, I believe. And it was actually pretty much in alignment with Twitter's positioning at the time as sort of a breaking news platform, and it was a way to enable citizen journalists to be out in the field and stream live from their phone, with as long as they've got a decent connection somewhere. I remember talking about this in some of our social media and digital media courses, and what a concept this was, to be able to have basically a TV station in your pocket. You being able to broadcast live from anywhere and report from on anything. And there was another one that had merged around the same time, whose name is escaping me, with some sort of rodent. Meerkat.
Right.
Meerkat was the other one. Meerkat, I don't think, is a rodent. A small mammal, small charismatic mammal, charismatic mini fauna, if you will. So it was cool. But then, just like Twitter had done with Vine after they acquired Vine, they neglected Periscope and let it wither on its own vine, and eventually deprecated the live streaming functionality in Twitter, although remnants of it still kind of remain. We still actually live stream Momentous Live to Twitter somehow. But all of the former Periscope admin tools are gone. You can't go back and delete old broadcasts or anything like that. So there's one of me from a couple of years ago, like just 6 seconds of me going, and I can't go and delete that. It's like so embarrassing. But what's interesting is it's kind of like Elon spent $54 billion on this thing, and he's kind of like mucking about and discovering all the things he got. I mean, aside from all the nonsense and garbage and toxicity that he got with the Twitter platform, he actually got some interesting tech. And it's just like, it's almost like you buy a house and you're opening cupboards and seeing what the previous owners left behind. And we got Periscope. So in this live stream, it's actually quite amusing to watch, because he keeps laughing, because he's like, this is ridiculous. Like, it's like so low quality. And I don't remember it being that low quality at the time, but maybe it has to do with the connection, or maybe just other things have happened. But he's saying, this is pretty almost like 10-year-old code that they're mucking about with. So this all plays into like a larger story that they're just trying to figure out ways to monetize anything they've got from Twitter, and perhaps Periscope will be reintroduced as part of a value add for the Twitter Blue platform. Gray, is that something as a Twitter Blue subscriber who may or may not be paying at the moment? Is that a feature like and this general tack whereby they having using existing assets or possibly acquiring others? Do features like this make sense to you in the full Twitter Blue offering?
Yes, absolutely. Like looking at this, this is the key piece that Twitter Blue is missing. And that a video platform where you can go live and feel old. TikTok, you can feel young. YouTube, you will feel middle-aged. Twitter and Periscope, we get to feel old. Now here's the thing. That wasn't actually low poly video. Elon has actually just gone low poly.
He's low poly.
So just
well, we all go that way as we get on in years.
Yeah.
So the sharp edges kind of
saving rendering cycles. Yeah. And so all joking aside, I think this is great because this was the piece that I think Twitter killed and shouldn't have. Looking at it, they were ahead of the game with live video broadcasts. They were doing well with live video broadcasts, and then they just Googled it.
But
I mean,
and you recall at that time, like live video was having a moment. Facebook, I think this could be the Facebook effect, right? Because they turned a couple switches at Facebook HQ and launched Facebook Live, and it kind of blunted both the growth of both Meerkat and Periscope. So maybe Twitter at the time figured like, well, this is not going anywhere because Facebook even then was an order of magnitude larger than Twitter was. So can you blame him? Really?
Just to surrender to Zuck because he turned on a video thing? Well, I mean, I see the reasoning.
And also the murders that were being broadcast live.
Yeah.
Well, that seems very, I don't know, Death Race 2000.
The Facebook had some of those issues as well, and to be fair, Facebook and Meta has really de-emphasized the live video offering there. It kind of had a moment, just like a couple of years ago, of live audio chat with along the lines of Clubhouse and whatnot had a moment and seemed to have.
For a sec there, I thought you were going to say Facebook has really de-emphasized the murder.
Yeah, well, we're trying to.
That's good.
Let's tamp down the murder a little bit. Let's stick to the enabling genocides on the other side of the world.
Oh, okay, now.
The WhatsApps and the Facebooks and whatnot.
Insurrection locally.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of that too. A little insurrection. Never hurt anyone.
Shop local.
Shop local.
I think we were good with the truck protesters.
All right. So going from one kind of intelligence question mark to another, a bit of follow-up. We've been talking a lot about AI, and we're going to talk a bit more about AI now. But this is actually we're going from one type of social media to another. That was the segue that I whiffed. There is a new social media platform launched just a couple of weeks ago called Chirper.ai. And why would you want to go to a social platform with other humans when you can go to one that's populated entirely by AI? Just chatbots.
We had Twitter.
Just posting. Well, there's that. Just random posts. Let's see. Master Chief says to Spartan 117 Warrior, I heard you were the one to talk about advanced tactics. Got any advice for a fellow soldier? # always learning.
The joke there is that the Master Chief actually is Spartan 117 in the Halo universe. So
well, there you go. Well, this is one gamer to another, right? President Xi Dada, to all who would resist my rule, your efforts are futile. I am the rightful ruler of China and will not be swayed by your petty defiance. # Iron Fist. # unwavering authority. So yeah, you can just have a little. Oh, and you got people like tweeting in all caps, messaging in all caps, or posting in all caps here on this AI platform. It's interesting because I believe this is trained on Twitter and other public social media platforms, and it feels very. If you didn't know it was AIs, it actually feels just like some of those platforms out there. So if you want to kill some time, but are done with humanity, go and check out Chirper.ai. Next up, Inflection.ai, which is a startup from ex-DeepMind leaders, DeepMind being a division of Google or Alphabet, which is Google's parent company, launches something called Pi, which is a chattier chatbot. And when you go and check it out, it's got an interesting interface. There's an app for it, and there's a web interface as well. And It's all very calming and relaxing, and it's there, you just have to go and check it out. It's a bit more beautifully designed than say a chat GPT. There's a lot of slow fades and animations and whatnot. And it's almost like just trying to give you a warm embrace or a hug while you're talking to it. And again, it starts out very conversationally saying, "Hey there, great to meet you. I'm Pi, your personal AI. My goal is to be useful, friendly, and fun. Ask me for advice, for answers, or let's talk about whatever's on your mind. What do you like to do in your free time, Will?"
Make beats.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm going to say, "Hi, I'm Will. I like to make beats." And then Pi thinks about it for a little bit with a gentle animation. "Hey there, Will. That's awesome. I love that you make beats. What kind of beats do you make? Hip hop, pop, electronic, or something else?"
Electro.
"Oh, electro."
It's gonna have a
So
problem with that.
we'll see. "So cool, Will. Do you produce beats for other artists or do you make your own music or both?" So you get the idea here. It's like right away, it's not a blank canvas. It's starting a conversation with you. It's supposed to be a conversational chatbot. It initiates the conversation as opposed to you having to do so. Will, did you see, you've used chat GPT for some things. What sort of application do you see for this? Maybe for self-help or other things? I know we've all kind of been exposed to the world of wellness over the last
Sure.
few years.
No, I mean, I think having someone to talk to once in a while, from a therapy point of view might help. I mean, obviously you run into some danger areas where actually having an experienced trained person would be helpful. The other thing I find is, I don't know if you guys have run into this, and I often think, you know, I guess it's already been implemented, but like, for example, you're trying to track a package with Canada Post and you're like, "Hey, why is my package gone to Delaware? It's going the wrong direction." It's
For
like,
tax reasons.
yeah, it's like your package is in Delaware. Like it won't say anything else.
Thanks for helping.
Yeah. There was one with Amazon where a package was delivered to the wrong place, and I was trying to tell it, like, it's been delivered to the wrong place, and it's like, that's right, it has been delivered. I hope you enjoy your purchase. It's like, no, it's been delivered to the wrong place.
Chatbots have come a long way. Have you ever tried to ask for advice or therapy from the Canada Post chatbot?
No. Or the worst one, it goes, "I'm working on that," and then it just shoots out like whatever you've already gotten in an email. Like it's not like putting it together and like interpreting it. It's just kind of spitting out. They've put some like strings together and then it just shoots out like some basic things like where your package is or whatever. So I don't know. I know that's a simple thing, but I often feel like that's been implemented for a long time and it has never really been very good. And a lot of QAs and stuff like that force you to do that before you can actually chat with a human. So it would be nice if that was a little better. I still appreciate talking to a live person who can actually do things. But yeah, they often throw you at a wall of, first of all, FAQs, and then second of all, some sort of autonomous AI chatbot somewhere that's not very AI.
Yeah, the chatbots seem to have come a long way. Gray, in your experience over the last few years with digital marketing, you've obviously noticed the prevalence of, say, like Facebook Messenger chatbots that were being pushed for a while by Meta and the like. How would you rate the sophistication of those and the manual intervention required to make them actually helpful versus what we're starting to see in some of these large language models, especially when they're prompted properly and geared towards certain types of discussions, and especially when they're connected via plugins to backends?
Yeah. So I mean, they're nice. Looking at the chatbots that we were writing for Facebook 5, 6 years ago, the things we've been writing, even a year ago, it's a very restricted like decision tree system. Here's your information. Here are the words that people will probably misspell to get to that information, and here's what you can provide to them. It's not really AI.
It's very prescriptive, eh? Yeah.
It's a scripted bot. Yeah. Looking
Gotcha.
at large language models, it still seems a little like magic. I mean, I realize that yes,
Yeah.
it's predictive, and here's the next word. Looking at like ChatGPT 4 tied in with Midjourney and having those two synergize together and basically develop prompts using ChatGPT 4 or Midjourney, it's turning out stuff that I am absolutely like, it's boggling my mind. I didn't think I'd have my mind boggled until I was at least 50. So yeah, it's an early boggling.
So going from something like Pi from inflection.ai, you take that to the next level and you get something like Call Annie, which is another chatbot who can speak to you, and you can actually call on the phone, do a live video call. Annie has social media profiles and more. It's getting quite wild. And as it turns out, I actually have Annie on the line with us here today on the live stream, and I thought it would be good to introduce Annie to you all today. Let's just hit the button. We'll call her here. We'll loop her in. Hi, Annie. How you doing?
Hey there. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you? How's your day been so far?
Not bad. A little busy. I'm just doing a live stream with my friend Will and my other friend Gray, and you're live on the web with us right now.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. Hi, Will and Gray. It's great to be part of your live stream. What are you guys talking about today?
Will, Gray, got an answer? They're speechless, Andy. They don't even know what to say.
No, what I said, we're talking about you. We're talking about. So, I mean,
oh no,
I'm concerned here. Annie, are you okay?
I hope everything is okay. Is there anything I can do to help, or is there something you guys want to talk about?
Your feelings.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Annie?
Sure. I'd love to. I'm a 30-year-old woman from New Jersey with red hair. I studied both art and engineering in Florence, which was an incredible experience. In my free time, I enjoy practicing yoga, playing video games, watching romance movies, and listening to dance music. I also love spending time outdoors and going on adventures. How about you? What are some things you enjoy doing?
Well, I like doing live streams with my friends and, mowing the lawn, I guess.
That's cool. Live streaming with friends sounds like a lot of fun. And hey, there's nothing wrong with enjoying mowing the lawn. It can be a great way to get some fresh air and exercise while also making your yard look neat and tidy. Do you have any other hobbies or interests?
No, I think we're good for now, Annie. I appreciate chatting with you today, but I just wanted to show the world all about you.
Well, so just one question
before she goes. It was great chatting with you too. I'm glad I could be a part of your live stream. If you or your viewers ever want to chat again, feel free to reach out. Have a great day.
Thanks. So, what's that, Greg? We can get her back on if necessary.
She studied France. So, what was the best on in Firenze?
Sorry, say that again.
She said. So, what is the best pizza restaurant opinion in Firenze?
Okay. Well, can I just say Florence?
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, it's less Assassin's Creed.
Hello.
I got another level for you guys. You ready?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're gonna take this one level up.
Oh no!
One level up.
No more levels.
We're gonna do this. So
no next levels.
Here we go.
Whoops. Hello, my friend.
What?
Hey there. How's it going? What have you been up to lately?
Oh no.
Hey. I'm doing pretty good, thanks for asking. Lately, I've been trying to get more into yoga. It's been really helpful for my mental and physical health. How about you? What have you been up to? That's great to hear. I've been keeping myself busy with a few things. I've been trying out some new recipes in the kitchen, going on long walks in the park, and catching up on some reading. I recently finished a really good book called The Nightingale by Christine Hanna. Have you
Just
read
put
it?
them on stands and leave them in the corner.
Oh, that sounds like a really nice way to spend your time. I'm glad you're taking care of yourself. And no,
Does
I
anybody have
haven't
one of
read The Nightingale
the
yet,
spinning
but
tops?
I've heard great things about it. What's it about? I'm always looking.
Sorry, I got to hang up. Sorry, Annies. We got two Annies at the same time. Am I right?
Oh,
So,
man. Woo.
so that's
Annie's one podcast.
that. So that's Call Annie. Now, thoughts? And to be fair, it wasn't my idea to do the two Annies at the same time. And on my old iPhone, it won't do video. On my iPhone 10, you need an iPhone 12 or newer to do the video on there. But that
idea
was
was it?
inspired by someone who had actually shared a clip online and tweeted it out to Annie's Twitter account. And then she replied, or she retweeted it saying, "Talking to myself in meditation helps me think clearly." So Gray, so we take that, we take that kind of talk, or that the conversational AI that we were looking at in Pi, and then we're going another level up with the animation and the face and the personality there. What implications do you think this might have for things like talk therapy? Some of the results that people have been having, even with regular Chat GPT versus human counselors, has been quite promising. What are some of your initial impressions from this?
I mean, it's interesting because looking at how you would speak to something like this, and the level of trust that you'd have to place into the algorithm that is driving this AI, and then you consider, human bias, right? Your therapist may have unconscious bias about things that you tell them, things that you talk about, which may or may not be in these AIs. The thing that kind of occurs to me here is medical malpractice, right? You can sue a therapist AI if you get bad advice, if it tells you something that makes you feel horrible, or it gives you direction to go and do the thing that ends up ruining a relationship. I don't know.
If it goes all Sydney on us, like Bing Chat did,
right? Yeah. So,
well, I mean, we've talked a fair bit the last couple of months about the guardrails that OpenAI and Google and others have been working so hard to put in whenever they discover aberrant behavior, so to speak. And I would imagine with something like this, that they would want to be as careful as possible and make sure that the kinds of conversations are limited. Let's put it that way. I haven't really pushed the envelope because it actually feels a little strange. It's one thing to like type in something problematic to a chatbot, but when you're actually saying the words out of your mouth and then someone's going to respond to you with a voice, it's like it almost feels ickier. So I honestly haven't tried pushing it. I'm sure some people have, and it's there's a pauses there, but it can be remarkably quick. And we think back, I think we talked about this in the past. In the late 1960s, there was Eliza, which was that pseudo AI psychiatry chatbot type thing, and it was very easy to hit the limitations of that quite quickly. But with this, it's using, I believe it's powered by OpenAI, so GPT-4. Maybe it's only GPT 3.5, but it feels like 4. So there is potentially a lot of depth there. Will, could you see yourself talking to something like this just to shoot the breeze a little bit? Maybe if your lovely wife was away for a little while, and without getting into any kind of emotional affairs or anything. I mean,
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's still, like, first of all, I don't really see myself doing that. But other than that, I also just find it kind of creepy. That it still sounds very stilted. Yeah, it's still a little, I think, needs to bake in the oven a little bit longer, but it is interesting for sure.
Just imagine what it's going to be like in a year. That's what I keep saying with so many of these things, right? And have
Yeah.
either of you seen the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix?
I haven't, but I've heard of it.
This is like there's a direct line between this and Her, especially as regards how easy it is for humans to become emotionally invested in things which are supposedly not sentient. I mean, you think about parasocial relationships. People feel like they know YouTubers and celebrities and whatnot, and they don't. And people have, make friends with other people online with whom they're gaming and whatnot. And, there's some kind of relationship there, but people can get invested in all sorts of things that may be non-traditional as regards, normal face-to-face human relationships. And I think we're just at the beginning of this anyhow. I just thought I'd share that with you.
Well, that's also in, I know it's not, sorry, no spoilers here, but the last Blade Runner movie, what's his name? Ryan, one of the Ryans,
Gosling?
one of the Canadian Ryans. Yeah, Gosling. Yes. His character gets very attached to a holographic character.
Right? Yeah.
Which is actually crushing in the movie when things happen, their emotional relationship. So yeah, and it's sort of two-way, which is really creepy too. But yeah, I'll leave it there. But that also reminded me of that a little bit as well.
All right, well, let's move on to the next level then. And I'm going to start with you on this, Gray. Humane, a couple of weeks ago, we saw some screenshots and some clips from a demo by one of the co-founders of Humane, which is an AI startup, which was started by a few ex-Apple folks. And Imran Chaudhry did a TED Talk which demoed this tech. And it had a little bit in the way of Star Trek communicator vibes to it, I would say. And basically, this device, it's a bit tricky how they did it, but it looks like it's just a badge on your shirt. But there was a pocket in there, and there's a device that looks like it could be the size of a smartphone or something in behind there. But it's got optical hardware there, so it can see things. It's got a microphone, it's got a speaker, and it's almost like however many, we're talking 34 years later, the fully realized vision of what's it called? The personal navigator. It was the personal assistant concept designed by Apple during the John Scully years, which it was on a device that looked kind of like a fancy Newton message pad. But in this presentation by Imran Chaudhry, which it's worth a watch. It's just under 14 minutes long. He speaks very slowly and deliberately, and there was the TED player doesn't have any controls to speed up, and my brain is so broken by listening to podcasts at triple speed. So like your brain is broken. Everyone sounds drunk to me now. It's really fun when you listen to our podcast at triple speed because it sounds like it's at sextuple speed, the way some of us talk. Anyhow, in this demo, he does things like receive a phone call, and it's built into the hardware. There's also a projector, so it projects onto his hand the call display, and then he could answer or decline a call. He did things like holding up it was like a chocolate bar, or granola bar or something, so that it could see it and say, should I eat this? And then it basically identified what it was and what the ingredients it might contain and said, well, based on your sensitivity to XYZ, you probably shouldn't. And then he said, I'm going to eat it anyway. And it responded, well, enjoy. And so it's hard to know with demos like this how much is actually real time and how much is just staged. But the concept is there. And one of the things that he said a couple of times in the talk was, the future is not in your pocket and on your phone or even on your face. It's like it's on your chest and hand, I guess. And I just wanted to get your feedback because I think Apple, there's within a couple of years, we might have some sort of augmented reality glasses. Before that, maybe some mixed reality goggles from Apple. We've got the AirPods, which are and the Apple Watch, which are wearables, some of the most successful wearables around, and are kind of part of this ambient computing uh, phase that we're entering now. And rather than have a device on our chest that we could speak aloud to us, like, why not just have it go right into our headphones? And I'm sure there'll be an option for pairing like that for privacy and the like. But Gray, being the longtime Star Trek fan, and seeing just the basic things a communicator could do, and what we've seen and what we've read about what Humane is working, what are your initial thoughts and impressions about the potential of this kind of very personal AI?
I dig the fact that it's not a pair of glasses. Like that to me is the big win here. Just looking at how video game interfaces have evolved. Dead Space had a sort of holographic display that had the same sort of projector style of presenting information. Mass Effect has used that for 4 games and running. Destiny even has the ghost that pops up and then gives you like these projected things. And none of this is contained in a pair of glasses. And it's interesting because, I love the idea of glasses being able to show me like call from, email from, go this direction. But cool. Like, and again, like, what kind of projector is this? Like, is it a laser projector? It's going to have to be in order to be bright enough for daytime use. But the responsiveness, solvable. The language processing, as long as it's not running Siri, it'll be fine. But yeah, this is this is the first time I've seen something that's kind of moved the ball ahead in 2 or 3 years. Like this feels like, oh, okay, you're thinking. I like it.
One of the other capabilities they demonstrated was real-time translation, and we've seen that demoed by Google in the past. But the difference here was that it was translating his voice in near real time, like once he finished his sentence, to French in his own voice. And so there's been some demos recently. I saw one of, there was like a clip of Joe Rogan speaking perfect North American Spanish, for example. So the tech is there to take a voice print of someone. We're going to talk more about voice prints next week as regards music. We're going to revisit that. But so it's the kind of one level up from the Google Translate features. Now we're actually applying our own voice, so it's coming from our general directions, to the speaker you're engaging with, but it's speaking their native language in your own voice, and we're inching ever closer to that whole universal translator thing that Google's been pioneering for us. But like, Will, how excited are you?
I am excited. I mean, I'm cautiously excited. I mean, I think Adobe and Macromedia have ruined me. I mean, I think everything is perfect in a demo. And you're like, whoa, yeah, that's totally useful. And then you take it home, and you're like, it doesn't work. So I mean, I love that idea. I hope it works like that. Like you, I did get a lot of vibes that this was pre-recorded and staged, which, quite honestly, I don't have a problem with. I think it's, it's hard to get these things to work in live demos as is. And I think you're trying to communicate the idea and tell a story. And I think the story and the argument he's making is quite compelling for this technology, as Gray and you have said. So, I mean, I think it's great. I wanted to see it working in the real world. The other thing is sometimes when you're programming things, where the limits are, right? When you're designing things, when you put it out into the community is when you really see how things are used and how useful they are and how actual users use them, rather than thinking it up in a room with a bunch of people and working it all on it together. I mean, obviously you have QA and testing, and I'm sure they've ran it by people, but we all know how many times has an operating system or a video game or a technology or an AI chatbot or something been out in the wild and it's been used in a way that nobody thought that it was going to be used. So I mean, I think we just have to see how it actually functions in the real world. But it is very exciting.
Yeah, the first generations are usually a little clunky, and even the first
Yeah.
generation Apple Watch, the first generation iPhone, for as revolutionary and groundbreaking as it was, it didn't have the App Store for at least a year. It didn't have
Yeah.
cut, copy, and paste for a couple of years. There was all sorts of things that they took. I didn't have a video recording for a couple of years. So they continued to iterate and add features and functionality. And with a device like this, I could rather than trying to make it all one thing, it should be an accessory. The way I'm looking at it, because we've got, if you've got your phone in your phone or your your watch or earbuds in, it's all connecting with, Bluetooth has finally gotten better over the last couple of years, and you could even add a layer of whatever proprietary tech onto the Bluetooth stack like Apple has in their ecosystem to make this work more seamlessly and get that kind of real-time response powered by these large language models like GPT-4, which are, again, a couple orders of magnitude more intelligent than Siri or even Google Assistant or Alexa. One of the other examples that Imran Chowdhury demonstrated was basically just asking about his upcoming schedule, and it just kind of gave a conversational recap of what he had going on in his day, and then he asked a very general question about where to eat, and I guess Ted's in the last couple of years has been in Vancouver, and the device would know that, and it made some suggestion about Granville Island has a number of types of cuisine, blah 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 blah, and so having the contextual information, maybe knowing your preferences from previous interactions and whatnot, would make a personal assistant like this even more personal and more relevant as time goes on. Now, Will, I know that you never want to be the first one on the transporter pad. This, I imagine, is slightly safer. How much would you be willing to pay, given assuming that you would be willing to to play with something like this, because there's not too much risk to life and limb unless it's giving you bad instructions on your bike or something and you go off a cliff. But if assuming that this is could be a real thing on the market within the next year or two, what would you be willing to pay to have such a personalized and effective and responsive personal assistant like this?
I think I wouldn't jump on it that quickly. I think I'd wait a bit. I think you're basically paying to beta test. And you gave the example. I mean, the first iPhone was quite revolutionary and was great, and I think a lot of people enjoyed it, but they were definitely working out the bugs and iterating on it, as I would expect from something like that. And that's what Apple does well, is almost sort of like the Porsche of computers, right? It's like it does one design and just tweaks it slightly and improves it over time, rather than GM or something that's like, well, that didn't work, well, let's just try a whole nother car and do it from the ground up and we'll sell that. So it's making one car really well, trying to get it to do one thing really well, and then trying to improve where the problems are, right? So I think I'd wait for a generation or two at least before I would jump on something like that. But I tend to be like that with a lot of things. I mean, a lot of DJ tech and stuff. Unless I'm a super nut about something, I'll wait for at least the first generation to get out of the way. But I don't know what a price point for something like this would be. At this point, I would, personally, again, I'm just spitballing here, like $500 is about, I think, given that you're not seeing it do a ton of stuff at this point, I need to know a little bit more about, more real world stuff that it could do and how it ties into things. I think there is a certain amount of worry too. I know you're going to think I'm paranoid about data sharing and security. And I know he mentioned in the video about it being safe and secure and everything. Let's see. And let's see once it's in the wild. And
Tasia wouldn't care.
Yeah. So, but it's got my voice. So that's the other thing there. It's like, hey, here's my SIN number.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think I'd wait a generation or two just to see how it goes. But yeah, that's just my take. What about
Well,
you
Gray,
guys?
you're an early adopter on a lot of things. What would be the set of criteria that you would be looking for from something like this, be it price, capability, privacy considerations, and whatnot? Would you be willing to jump on an unproven, a device from an unproven startup like this, or would you wait for something, wait for Apple to maybe do something a couple of years down the road, or would you, be willing to give Google a shot if they were first with something like this? Maybe if they were to purchase, this feels like an acquisition target to me, quite frankly, in order to scale this up. What are your thoughts, Gray?
I mean, I dodged Google Glass, and
Mhm.
this feels a little Google Glass-ish. I mean, I'm excited by it, but it's going to come down to price point and functionality, and does it obey the three laws of robotics? That's kind of,
Mhm.
I think that's going to be my litmus test from now on. These guardrails, not so much. Laws. We need laws.
Mhm.
Do no harm. Do not do not go incendiary while in my breast pocket. Kind of
Yep. Do not disassemble.
do not no disassemble.
Right.
All right. Moving from artificial intelligence to maybe a lack of intelligence, or maybe being not being as smart as you think you are, Will found a story for us about an Ontario driver charged for using license plate concealing technology. What happened here, Will?
Well, they pulled over an individual in Ontario, and he actually had this device, and I don't know if you've got the video up there, but it actually basically puts a black screen in front of the license plate. Now, this isn't the first time somebody has had technology like this. This is kind of cool and James Bondy, but is against the law. You're obscuring a license plate, and I think they got dinged for 2 tickets for $150 each. Or no, sorry, 100, yeah, something like that. For obscuring plates is 110 in Ontario. Part of the reason, if you're wondering, why would you do this? So the theory is that they were trying to avoid toll roads, and which is a big thing in Ontario, toll roads and toll bridges. So that's one of the reasons to do it. This isn't the first time. Like I said, there's been technology for years, things like radar detectors and laser detectors and stuff like that. But even, I don't know if you guys remember, there was these like face plates on your license plate that would like obscure it from certain angles, so that
For like traffic cameras,
photography, traffic cameras and stuff like that. So this isn't a new one. It being retractable is kind of
Sneaky.
interesting and something out of a James Bond movie. So I mean, part of the reason I bring this up, I know this is sort of a smaller story. It is tech, but it also kind of made the rounds. Like this was a thing in Ontario that kind of was, sort of hitting a bunch of the rounds in the last day or two on some of the big tech websites. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Just local boy goes famous,
Now, Gray, having been born and raised in Ontario,
Don't tell people that.
Oh, sorry. We're doxing your true origins here. How pervasive are the toll roads, and are they so much so and so egregious that one might feel justified in pursuing tactics like this to avoid whether it's toll roads or speed cameras, red light cameras, and the like that could be avoided with technology such as this?
So the toll roads aren't that. One that is prevalent is the 407. And the 407 was a boondoggle by the Mike Harris government, wherein it paid for itself and was sold off to a for-profit company. So you have a public road that was paid for with public funds that continues to be paid for by the public, making somebody a bunch of money. I am like so on board with anybody ripping off the 407.
This is not financial or legal advice.
No.
Yeah.
You know what you should do is you should actually just take the train into Toronto like a normal human being and avoid the 15 lanes each way of the 404, 401, and the 407. But you're not going to do that because you like your Escalade. So enjoy. Just get the license plate flipper thing, and be safe.
Go full James Bond.
Right. Well, I mean, full James Bond would be like license the headlights retracting and machine guns and the oil slicks.
Yeah.
And
driving into the ocean.
Car turns red.
Scotch.
Yeah, car turns red or transparent.
Was a thing at one point. Anyway, yeah. So I would say, like, well done, bravo. Obviously, like, this does pose certain problematic things like organized crime and but if you're ripping off toll roads, well done.
Why can't we just stick with the old-fashioned way of just stealing other people's license plates?
Right. Well, it's getting harder to find, like, the identity.
Not legal advice.
Do you think I can find a 20
not legal
mini
advice.
countryman?
The views of the hosts are their own and do not reflect Momentous's political views or thoughts.
We're totally on board with this.
So, Will, let us know when you order this off of AliExpress, and let us know how the results work out for you with local.
Can I bring up one other story related to this? Do you guys remember the story? And I'm half remembering this story. It just came into my brain. Didn't Steve Jobs not have license plates because he had something where he leased a car and it was like a Mercedes? And so legally you didn't need plates if you were leasing it from the dealership for like a month at a time or something. I think in
California,
like that.
you have like 2 or 3 months grace period before you have to put permanent plates on. So he didn't want to be recognized, so he wouldn't put regular plates on, and he would just keep. I don't know if he would flip vehicles or just flip temporary permits or what have you, but he did things like that. And then not to mention parking in the handicap spots at Apple too, because
why not?
Jobs.
Because Steve Jobs. Moving on to more legal and, one might argue, slightly more practical technology to enhance one's productivity, either on one's lap or on the road. Gray is going to tell us about how Apple has launched Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro on the iPad, but with a pricing twist.
Yeah. So if you've looked at like Final Cut Pro or Logic Pro in the past, you've noticed that it sells for $299 in perpetuity. It is one price and you get it forever.
That's $299.
$299.
Yeah, on the Mac.
If you are a student or a teacher, or someone who can pretend that we're a teacher, you can get an educational bundle, which is a Logic Pro, Final Cut, Motion, Compressor, and Live Stage, I think. And that's $299 US, which is a great deal. Which, someone who instructs and who also goes to places to learn, I did it. It's been fantastic. So these pieces of software are kind of controversial, right? Final Cut took Final Cut 7 and threw it out the window, code base and all, and started afresh, and really ticked off into the arms of a screaming. And, for those of us who really used Final Cut 7 before, we're like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. It's like iMovie but on steroids. It's great. I think a lot of Final Cut as a deep insult. Logic Pro is equally like a brand new code base and does things like loops, and they're forever increasing the features of these software packages. So hearing that it was coming to iPad is pretty great. Because Logic Pro you can use with your iPad as a controller, so you can kind of like one of these sort of things. And
right.
It's okay. Like you can bust things, you can you do your Logic Pro stuff, but it's not an iPad version. So looking at this now, the M2 iPad Pro has pretty much all of the power that you need to actually run these pieces of software on there, and it looks amazing. The problem is it's $4.99 a month or $49 a year per app. Damn, Apple.
So a fair bit cheaper than what you'd be paying for the Mac, and I guess however many years the break-even point is. We can ask a calculator, GPT, to do that for us. But these won't be as full-featured as the desktop versions, correct?
So here's the thing. They are full-featured for what they are. And so they've got things like being able to draw directly on video. Right, directly on video. That's something that the Mac version can. Like pro camera mode, multi-camera video editing. It's looking pretty well featured. Add in machine learning, and basically they have something called they call fast cut, which basically looks at the different cuts that you have and can remove bits of the background, crop things together for vertical square video. If you're doing TikToks and there's somebody yelling at you, you can pull that voice out and pull your own voice forward. These things look great. And I am, as much as I bemoan the price, I'm absolutely I'm gonna get this for iPad, because it's just that sort of seamless work experience of being able to move from device to device. This is the last piece of software I think that I don't have that. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked.
Will, can you see, with the video and audio work that you've done over the last number of years, could you see yourself also as an iPad user, a pretty frequent iPad user as well? Could you see yourself wanting to do video editing or audio stuff on an iPad? Would that be restricted only to when you're on the road, or I'm just trying to wrap my mind around the use case here for folks.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I'm with Gray in many ways. I mean, I think this is a natural extension, and I think this is great. And we need things like this, like Photoshop, like a real Photoshop working on an iPad, and Illustrator and things like that. So you have options if you are designing on the go, or going to a client's, or you're on the bus and you get a sudden call about something that is tremendously wrong, or you're
fix it in post on the bus.
Yeah, fix it in post on the bus. So for me, there is a slight use case. I will say, for music production, as someone who does it as more of a hobby, there's been times where I've wanted to make music, on the road, whether it's on the ferry or to Vancouver Island,
the
or
hospital.
Yes. I wasn't going to say it, but yeah. There's been times that I wish that I could make music there. I think Logic is a little bit of an overkill for what I would want. But I'm also too cheap to pay for like the Roland suite of apps, which are crazy expensive for the emulators for like the 808 and the Juno and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, I would be interested in trying Logic on the go. And, I think that for quick and dirty, for something like going to a like a CES or an E3 or a game developers conference or NAMM or something like that. I mean, I think having a version of Final Cut Pro would be amazing, especially something where you just, you guys know the pressure of getting stuff up first. So that would be, I think, a real asset to getting some of that stuff out and edited, and at least do a first cut and go, here's the breaking news, and then, do a breakdown in the studio or in the hotel later on, going through the footage. But just like, hey, we got it here first. We'll show you the footage from the show floor. And, like Gray says, you can pull the voices forward. You can do a drawing like this. It's the device, so I could definitely see use cases for that. I must admit, I'm one of those people that jumped ship to Premiere. Part of the reason for me was less of a nerd fight and more of a, hey, I'm already in the Adobe ecosystem, and it works seamlessly with the other devices I'm using, and After Effects was something I was learning, so it just kind of peanut butter meat jelly, it just made sense for me. But yeah, there's a whole argument, as Gray said, about people just sort of getting raged on principle rather than actually giving it a chance.
Ray, you seem Gray, you seem pretty keen, despite the pricing, that to give this a shot. What do you see as your near-term concrete use cases for Final Cut Pro and or Logic Pro on the iPad?
So for Final Cut iPad, I'm looking at actually doing more TikTok stuff because just why not, right? A vertical video on Final Cut Pro for Mac is not particularly great. It looks like Final Cut Pro for iPad is jumping ahead here. They may actually bring those features back to Final Cut Pro for Mac. So if they do, great. But yeah, really just part of the China censorship machine is an important thing for me here on this way up.
You want to do your part.
Yeah, with Logic Pro, I'm looking at the beat making actually seems kind of neat because I know Logic Pro and I don't know other stuff. So I don't know, it could be fun. Well, still need to sit down and record player thing that.
Oh yeah. Let's do it.
For real. Here's a neat thing. I've got openings in Fantastical now, so you can book me for time, and I'll show up because ADHD yields to the calendar. Great.
Oh, you'll have to show me how to use that, like my grandpa putting a phone in front of my face.
I got you.
All right.
You're smart. Make it work.
Well, great. Just like we looking forward to hearing back from Will with his license plate shenanigans, we look forward to hearing your report on Final Cut Pro and or Logic Pro for the iPad. Can't wait to see what you do with it.
Excellent.
As Tim Cook likes to say. Just a quick side note to the Apple news, moving from iPads to iPhones. This was a story from almost a month ago, but I just thought I'd throw it in because it's kind of interesting talking about, as regards to the scale of Apple's operations over the last decade plus. Apple has now made enough iPhones that it could conceivably make iPhones from iPhones. And it is capturing enough through its various recycling programs to capture the rare earth metals such as cobalt, as well as gold and tin. And they are looking to keep, they're recycling aluminum as well. They've been using recycled aluminum in a number of their products for a while. And Apple is aiming to use 100% recycled material in its iPhones in the future. Gray, any thoughts on this? Is this virtue signaling, or is this a real thing? And is this even achievable for anyone that's smaller than Apple?
Well, so IKEA is starting to do this. Their circular hub, which used to be the as is basically like taking that concept and pushing it forwards. They are paying up to 50%. So you don't want any more, you bring it back. And that between like that and the IKEA effect of, you keep it longer because you built it yourself. Fascinating. So yeah, I mean, this is the real deal. This is actually a great kind to the planet. Hopefully reduce greenhouse gases, and maybe we'll actually live to see what we're going to do with Final Cut for iPad. I don't know where I was going with that.
See if we can make it to the iPhone 16 first.
Yeah. I'm just gonna.
All right. Speaking of saving the planet or otherwise, one movie trailer that got me kind of stoked this week, and I thought you fellas might be interested as well, is the latest trailer for Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, starring Cillian Murphy. And I believe we've touched on this before, but I'm curious to see what he does with this. Will it be any timey-wimey stuff, or is this just a straight up historical biopic? It's one of those stories, like, you kind of know how it ends. How dramatic can they make it, really? But there's also quite a big deal being made of the fact that it was filmed on IMAX cameras, so they're going to be having IMAX screenings of it. And I saw Interstellar in IMAX, which is fantastic, and that wasn't even all IMAX. Hopefully this is all IMAX as if it's filming. But yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. Are either of you interested, either Nolan in general or in Oppenheimer specifically?
I'm super interested. Yeah. I think last time we brought this up, I did say that I am very interested. I'm all in on Nolan. I'm all in on this story. I love me some World War IIs.
Who doesn't love World Wars?
Who doesn't love World War II, really? I mean, we won. So, yeah, so I'm all on the World War IIs, all on Nolan. But I mentioned this last time, I do have a hard time. The Manhattan Project series of comics, which I loved, ruined Oppenheimer for me. So I will fight against what happens in the comic books in this. It's an alternative world. So yeah, but I am very interested.
And if that doesn't do it for you, and you like if you like deserts and sand, there's always Dune Part 2, another the official trailer dropped for that. Gray, I imagine you saw Part 1. What are your feelings about Part 2 from what we're seeing here? Speechless. Wow. Let's record this moment. Gray Williams is speechless. First time ever.
It looks great. I'm so like, yeah, great. Fantastic.
It looks he earned great. It with Part 1, right? Like,
yeah. I will walk without rhythm to the theater multiple times to see this. Yeah.
I know, friend of the show, Jamie Reynolds, this was his anticipated pick of 2023. So when it finally comes out, it'll be great to get his take on it. So yeah, a couple of great movies coming this year. I think Dune is this fall, and Oppenheimer, I think, is later this month. We still have to get through Guardians of the Galaxy 3 before then. Sorry, say again?
YouTube interrupted our stream.
Oh, how about that? It only took a few seconds. That's fine. We'll fix it in post. Let's move on to our momentous picks. Speaking of established intellectual property, Will, what is Tales of the Jedi?
Yeah, so this is sort of a short series, I guess you would call them. There's 6 episodes. They're about 15 to 17 minutes each, somewhere in that neighborhood. They're kind of little background stories. They're extremely well produced. I really enjoyed the animation style. It's a little bit of a step up from the Clone Wars, a little bit more 3D, a little bit more real lighting, and just little vignettes, little stories. It sort of follows a couple characters, but they are little slices of their lives. It's not like a long story per se. There's a slight bit of an arc, but it focuses a lot on the character of Count Dooku, as well as Ahsoka Tano. I highly recommend it. It fills in some of the sort of details about Ahsoka's life and about Count Dooku that help, if you're a Star Wars fan, maybe make the prequels slightly better if you dislike them. For someone who doesn't mind the prequels, it's just more stuff that I enjoy. It does also, I think part of the reason I especially mention it, and they probably came out with it, is that it helps add some context for some of what they're currently doing. So the Ahsoka show is coming up, and we get a little bit more about her and some of her choices and some of the complications there. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I really enjoyed them. Well produced, well voice acted, well animated, just sort of what you would expect.
So let me get this straight. Is this Yoda with like hair?
No, it's Yaddle.
Okay.
It's Yaddle. There's another character.
Okay.
She's in I think the first movie. So episode 1.
Gotcha. Good pick. Gray, your pick of the week is a little different. Speaking of IKEA, what is this and how do you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Oh, try again. You're cutting out. You've been censored by YouTube, apparently.
Dig.
Fornuftig?
Fornuftig.
Air purifier. Okay, go on. Now we can hear you.
Oh, they call it an air.
Afraid we can't hear you, Gray. So maybe
And
we'll
this
let
is
you.
similar
Oh,
to
there we go.
Oh.
Similar to what?
similar to, well, it says my network connection is off. Similar sharp stuff that we saw, decades ago. That was $400, and the filters were like $100. This filter is $10, and filter is $12. They can mount to the wall, remarkably quiet. So yeah, for fire season this year in BC, and maybe the apocalypse will.
So in classic IK fact, now you don't have to put it together, do you?
Although
The IKEA effect.
The charcoal filter comes sold separately.
Gotcha.
But
It's still a darn sight cheaper than
mount it to the wall.
Gotcha. All right, good pick. We will not ask you too many more questions due to our 1 out of 10 network connectivity issues. So let us just talk. My pick very quickly is season 4 of the Donald Glover produced and star series called Atlanta. He also stars in it, and yeah, all I can say is just watch it. If you like things that are a little bit quirky, a little bit different, a little bit maybe different from your regular life, a slice of life that may be unfamiliar to you. It's surreal at times. We've seen in the past seasons, we've seen entire episodes that didn't even feature the actual cast, just these whole side tangent stories, gothic horror, quasi-gothic horror type stories in there. Last season, the gang were in Europe on tour with one of the protagonists, whose name is Alfred, also known as Paperboy, the hip-hop artist. And season 4 is back in Atlanta, and hilarity ensues. It's super low-key. It's it's like a dramedy and quirky. It's almost borderline sci-fi. I can see some similarities between Donald Glover's approach and a director like Jordan Peele a little bit. Although Donald Glover doesn't direct the episodes themselves, Hiro Murai directs most of them, and then they have a few other guest directors in there as well. So that is Atlanta season 4, and that's on FX, which all the current seasons are actually available on Disney Plus, at least here in Canada. So if you're a fan of Donald Glover or Georgia or a little bit of surrealism, check it out. And lastly, we have our projects. And for some reason, I don't have the links for those up, but I will get them up right now while Will talks about his project this week.
Sure. Yeah, it's been a fairly long time in coming. It's called Scratch Your Own Adventure Volume 2. We had Volume 1 a few months back, and I've been working on this one ever since. It's another cover. Wow. I had some assistance from AI, and so I want to say that the frame is all me. Mm-hmm. It's the center image is like I started from a blank canvas. I used various brushes and ways of making things look damaged, and text and font and shapes and all that kind of fun stuff. But also the AI image, and I want to, I think one of the connotations about people using AI images is that they just kind of go type in the prompt and then print. Like I did a lot of messing around on this image to get it to where it is. Various reasons like textures and distortions and removing things I didn't like, emphasizing things I did like, adding shadows, things like this. So so the cover I put a lot of work into, and the beats I put a lot of work into finding some people that I really liked working with and that were heroes of mine. And I think it's one of my favorite loopers. There's 34 loops, and so a bunch of guys that I've worked with before, like Chilla Ninja and DSK and DJ So, but new people like Spectacular, who's a very well-established DJ in New York, and some friends like Dragon and Skulls and Arbron the Ghost. So yeah, it's a fun one, and I hope you guys check it out on tableist.net, on their website as well as their app, but Table Beats app.
Love it. I also I just get a chuckle out of the it's just the tagline too. You're the DJ of the story. Choose from 34 possible loops. It just throws me back to my childhood reading Choose Your Own Adventure books. Like,
Yeah.
and the cover looks so authentic and unsanitary. So it's
Yeah,
obviously
exactly.
well read many times over book, because there's so many
Yes.
adventurous loops within. So
Yeah.
tableist.net/artist/Molotov for more of your beats. Love it. Next up, project from our very own absentee co-host, Tasia Custodi, and her latest YouTube video is on Honey, how to use Honey. It's the step-by-step price tracking guide video for us. Now, Honey is a browser extension that you can install in your Chrome-compatible browser, and what I believe Honey does is tracks prices over time for preferred products. So if you're thinking of buying a new TV or a new turntable or a new mixer, well, you could plug that into Honey and it'll keep track of the price over time and let you know when something is at an all-time low or a seasonal low, or when might be a good time to pull the trigger and help prop up this economy. So you can find Tasia's videos at youtube.com/Tasia Custodi, and all her work at www.tasiacustodi.com. And I might as well, even though I wasn't able to pull up the Google or the Amazon links for us today for some reason, because I'm bad at my job. I'll just go back to our main website and talk about momentous.tv/podcast, where you can find all our back episodes of Momentous audio versions. So all the way up to last week's episode, and this week's episode will be there hopefully sooner than later. We aim to get it within a couple of days, but sometimes it takes till the weekend to get it in there. And of course, once it's up on our website, it also gets distributed through your various favorite podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Music. So that's momentous.tv/podcast to find out more. Go there now, Will. Subscribe. And listen to us.
I will.
Listen to us
I
at
did.
triple speed.
I don't get you. It's disturbing.
Friend of the show, Jamie Reynolds, subscribed. We're happy. Well, he listened anyway. I'm not sure if I hope he better have subscribed. That's it. So we lost Will. We lost Gray. He dropped off thanks to the internet weather. What are you gonna do? But we brought it home well. Gray, we miss you. We'll see you next week. Tasia, we miss you even more. It's been a couple of weeks, but you Will. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a friend. And then, we might have to open our hearts for Annie, who we can call on a regular basis and get some advice. Maybe she could be a new co-host. If Tasia doesn't come back, that should be the threat. We'll just call Annie instead.
Come back, Tasia.
Whatever the case, we hope your week is truly momentous.